This is the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus 5G, which goes for $365 or 274,000 naira, and this is the Samsung Galaxy A54, which retails for $380 or 288,000 naira. Now the question is, which of these is better value for money? Spoiler, the answer might surprise you. Of course, starting with the cameras, as that's the reason you're here. On paper, you get 50 megapixels against 200 megapixels main sensor, 12 megapixels against 8 megapixels ultra-wide, a 5 megapixel and a 2 megapixel macro lens, and for the front-facing cameras, you get a 32 megapixels here for Samsung and a 16 megapixels for the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus 5G. I noticed that most of the time I had really similar colors for the main cameras and in fact a little more details from the Redmi. And this wasn't when I use any high pixel mode. When you take photos at low light, you can notice color shifts from both of the smartphones. While the Samsung gives you a slight magenta tint to the shadows, the Redmi on the other hand gives you a total green shift to everything, hence giving you an edge to the Samsung here. But with the night mode, Redmi smoothing things out to the extent you'd give them about the same rating, especially getting better colors in the shadows also from the Note 12 Pro Plus, while Samsung keeps the details. Another thing I noticed is, which might be difficult to translate over camera, is that I see more of a digital look in the Redmi photos, while the Samsung seems to be more natural, and this happens occasionally. This might have something to do with the high megapixel count, and I prefer the softer looking photos you get from Samsung, but that's a preference thing. Also, for the same condition, they tend to handle color reproduction differently, of course as expected for different brands. Greens are truer to life from the Redmi this time, and the Samsung artificially made things more polished. This tends to take away from the natural look but boosts colors a bit. For the ultra-wide, the Samsung wins with better dynamic range, better coloring, and better details. The Redmi gives you this softer look in that regard. For the regular portrait mode as seen, Redmi did a worse job at the edge detection, and in fact, Samsung gave more details to the chair. Over to the front-facing cameras, I noticed that Redmi had better skin tones but did a lot of skin smoothing, losing the details from the face. While the skin tones were off for Samsung, this can be easily corrected in edit and it retains most of the details to the face. Portrait selfie is better on the A54 here because it does a better background separation. Worst off, the Note 12 Pro Plus assumed the seat was part of my body. Also, you'd notice a slightly better dynamic range from the selfies on Samsung. Onto the videos, while both of them can record at 4K for the rear cameras, the Redmi is limited to Full HD for the front-facing cameras. And also I did notice that Samsung had a better exposure handling, especially for the shadows. Now, dynamic range seems same for both of these devices. Generally, the win goes to the Samsung Galaxy A54 in terms of the camera. There's no doubt Redmi has a strong design here which piggybacks on the predecessor, but there's something about the Samsung Galaxy A54 that makes it scream premium. And that's the fact that it steals design from the older sibling, the S23. I'm not trying to say the design on the Note isn't clean or great. I mean, both have glass rears, and the Redmi even has a headphone jack and the faster and seamless fingerprint scanner as opposed to an in-display scanner you have here. But that is even a factor that adds to the style of the Galaxy A54. Some other honorable mentions include an IP67 water and dust resistance for the A54 as opposed to IP53 for dust and splash resistance on the Notes here. Aesthetically, the A54 takes the lead. When it comes to audio, there is a lot going on for the Redmi Note here. Not only are the stereo speakers louder and quite clear, you also get the headphone jack retained, a luxury you won't get on the all-new A series launched so far. So for this category, the Redmi takes the lead. While both smartphones have AMOLED panels with 120Hz refresh rates in Full HD resolution, in fact, both smartphones have Gorilla Glass protection and a punch-hole camera, the Redmi Note has a bigger 6.67-inch display as opposed to the 6.4 you get from the Galaxy A54. Of course, Samsung has always led the industry in terms of display, and they even say there is a 1000 nits of brightness for this display here, while the Note has 900 nits rating. But honestly, that's just on paper, as that wasn't my experience. From my test so far, Redmi tends to do better in terms of the displays from the smartphones. In fact, when you watch HDR content, the display on the Note is actually brighter, shadows are clearly represented, and it remains more colorful without adding some form of character to the display. The display on the Redmi Note 12 Pro Plus 5G, I had to say one more time, is not only bigger but actually better, and so takes the point here. While MIUI is stylish and customizable, the One UI 5.1 you get on the A54 is actually clean and not having the amount of bloatware you get from this one. In fact, it is generally designed with user experience in mind. Now for the software here, the Note is based on Android 12, while the Galaxy here gives you Android 13. Both promise software updates into the future, and you are likely to get up to 4 years for the Galaxy and a minimum of 2 years for the Redmi. That means up to Android 14 here and Android 17 for the Samsung is a no-brainer. Samsung wins. When it comes to the performance, the Galaxy A54 has the Exynos 1380 chipset, and the Note here has the MediaTek Dimensity 1080. The chipset found on the Galaxy here actually does beat the one from the Note, and it is actually more power efficient. Both are 5G processors and they have support for 4K videos, but when I think about the fact that the Redmi doesn't have support for memory expansion slots, even though the Galaxy has a hybrid SIM slot, it just feels like something is missing. You might not really have a need for that, as this unit is 256 gigs of storage, which is double that on the A54 I have here. But as far as performance, the A54 is the device to beat. Now talking about the accessories from the box here, Samsung only gives you the smartphone, a SIM ejector, and a USB-C to C cable. But as with the Redmi here, you know you're getting value for your money with the included TPU case, a 120 watts charger, and a really large documentation on manual. There's no contest here, Redmi wins the accessory category. Now, battery life is great on both of these devices. I would give the win to the Redmi here for the fact that you get a charger and also a super fast one. Both come with a 5000 mAh battery, which will take you into the next day on average use, so the Redmi wins in this category. So, there's no doubt that the Samsung Galaxy A54 is my pick for obvious reason. If it still isn't obvious to you, here's the list. Software updates into the future is a major issue for me, and if you're getting a smartphone for a long time, this is something you shouldn't miss out on. It has the better camera, especially in terms of video, it's a better performing device, and it has the better design. I think you should get the Samsung instead, even though it costs about $15 more and with the less accessories. Also, see some reasons to go get the Samsung Galaxy A54 here. Cuídate.